New, simple, and easy resin farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This design produces a ton of resin, over 56,000 per hour. It's incredibly easy to build, and it's expandable to any size that you want, so you can start off small and build it larger later on. This farm is extremely simple and difficult to break, and it doesn't use any trident killers. The mechanics behind this farm are really simple. You build it up in the air, and then as soon as it becomes nighttime, all the creakings will spawn. The only places that they can spawn are on the inside of the farm, and as you're looking at them, they're all going to freeze up and get pushed directly into the damaging chamber. This farm is optimized to be lag efficient, so it doesn't have more creaking than it needs to get you the best rates. It's also a smart system, that way you can AFK all throughout the Minecraft day and night, and it will automatically turn off during the day, reducing lag and saving you resources. This farm uses piston feed tape walls to automatically harvest all the resin super easily and quickly, and with a tiny amount of redstone, so it's really easy to build, and it's optimized to only attack the creaking every 5 seconds. That way you get the optimal rates from these guys, and it's a safe design that prevents the creakings from ever getting near you, so you'll never be able to take damage from them or any other mobs or phantoms while you're AFKing. We have a little bit of redstone on this system to automatically dispense potions to you once every 5 seconds, where you can then throw those automatically at the creakings to spread a ton of resin. Our redstone at the top there automatically harvests the walls before you damage the creakings. That way you always harvest everything. The items go down the same chute as all the creakings, and then we just have a bunch of hoppers to collect all of your items. Now, unfortunately, on Bedrock Edition, there's only a couple of different ways to attack a bunch of mobs at one time, which is exactly what we need. So you could use a Riptide Trident to launch yourself into this wall right here, and as you see, that would damage all these guys and spread a bunch of resin, but this also deals an incredible amount of damage to our Trident, and we can only attack these guys about 11 times before the Trident dies, meaning you would have to build this over an experience farm to mend your Trident. Unfortunately, crossbow rockets do not damage the creaking due to a bug, and the only other major option is to use player-lit TNT, since that will actually act as a player attack. So the only other option left to us is to use potions, since that will automatically attack all of them and spread it, and it's really just the easiest option. If you're building a resin farm on a much smaller scale, you can use trident killers, but you need 1 trident per creaking, so it does not scale well. And this farm has 88 creakings in there, so I don't think you want to really throw 88 tridents. Now on Java Edition, they have sweeping edge, so you could just literally swipe attack all of these guys at once, and it only does 1 durability damage to your sword. So using the farm is really simple. As soon as it becomes nighttime, it is going to be able to spawn you a bunch of creakings. Now, as long as you're in survival, you'll be able to see these guys through the glass, so they'll all freeze up, and then they'll just go directly into your little damage center right there. So once all your creakings are in there, you can flick up this lever right here, and that is going to be dispensing you a potion once every 5 seconds. Now, you can either manually just press your button, or if you're on a console or a computer, you can set up an auto clicker to automatically throw this potion for you. If you're on mobile, you might be able to find an auto clicker that works. And as you can see, you can just AFK here for as long as you want. Due to our daylight detector system, this will automatically turn off the farm as soon as it becomes daytime, so you can AFK here for as long as you want. And of course, all of your items are going to be going into our many chests of resin that we have here. You're going to be getting a lot of resin from this. You're going to want some auto crafting or some smelting to turn that into bricks. Now, luckily for you, I have tutorials for auto crafting, smelting, potion brewers, and experience farms down in the description for you. And if you like these kinds of Bedrock tutorials, then consider dropping a like and subscribing. I have many more tutorials on the way. Thank you to Nimbon for the design concept for this farm. They showed this off on Java Edition using Sweeping Edge, and it works quite well. I did make a couple of design tweaks and changes, so they showed it with a bunch of staggered creaking hearts like this, which is pretty much the most dense way to get these hearts in there, and that'll give you like 122 creakings in this tiny little area. However, all of the resin clump spreading areas from these actually overlap with one another, so you end up kind of losing efficiency. And let's hop into the tutorial. So all the materials that you'll need for this build are in this chest right here. As you see, it's pretty straightforward, and you can start off with less creaking hearts. So technically, you could start with 1 and then build up the farm as you go, but it's going to be easier to start off with a basic resin farm and then build up to this one. You're going to want to build this farm up in the air. I'd recommend at least 30 to 50 blocks above the ground, because the creaking spawn in pretty big range around the hearts, and you don't want them spawning on the ground around your farm. And of course, you could build this farm anywhere in the overworld. However, you cannot build it in the nether or the end dimension. So we're going to start off with a 6-block long platform made out of glass, and that's going to be 3 blocks wide at least. And then on the end over here, this is where our creakings are going to sit. Now we need to put in ourselves a little chamber around this made out of glass blocks. This is going to be 3 blocks tall on all sides, so just like that. And then on the back side of this is going to be a 3x3 platform of solid blocks in this area right here. This is going to be our funnel. Now we need a wall going all the way around this. So on the back and sides, this can just be made out of solid blocks of your choice. But on the front of this, it needs to be made out of glass. That way you can see in there. And this needs to be 3 blocks tall. So go ahead and build all that up on all sides. And that's basically what our funnel should look like. Now at the bottom here, we're going to put in a trapdoor and flick that down. That way, in case a wandering trader or a horse trap gets in there, you can open this up and kill those guys, and they're not going to be backing up your farm. And now to build the main spawning platform for these guys, we need to expand this out by 3 blocks in every direction. So 3 blocks on the left here. It's going to be 3 blocks on the right, 3 blocks on the back, and then on the front here, it's going to be 2 glass blocks and then a solid block on the end. So now we can go ahead and connect up all these corners into one big square. And that's what it should look like once you've connected all the corners. On the front here, we're going to expand this glass platform just to be a little 3x3. And then for the rest of this, you could just go ahead and fill it all in with solid blocks so that it's one big platform. And this is what your platform should look like. So now we're going to put in a little barrier going around this thing just to contain in the water, and you don't need any blocks on the corners. And that's what your barrier should look like. So now in each corner, we're going to put in a glass block and then 1 solid block in the corner right here. Do that on all 4 sides. And now we can install our pistons. So we're going to start with this corner right here. Place in yourself a temporary block and then 5 pistons going directly above it, just like so. And then we need to do that on every corner. So we're going to go over to this one. And basically this is going to be pushing all of our blocks in kind of a circle around the build. So temporary block in each of the corners, 5 pistons going up, and then on this one over here. And that's what all your pistons should look like. As you can see, they're all facing a different direction. So that's the basic infrastructure. Now we're going to go down and work on the redstone. So the first thing we're going to install is the main clock for the build. So go ahead and put in yourself a lever right there and flick that. We need a solid block below that and then a solid block below that one. Give yourself a 2-block gap and then another couple of solid blocks right here like so. This is going to be for our hopper clock, so we need a comparator on each one of these, and then some hoppers facing into each other like that. Now you want redstone on either side, and then a piston on one side, piston on the other, and a redstone block between them like so. Now we're going to place in ourselves a sticky piston off of that piece of redstone dust right there, and an observer facing downwards. That's going to have a solid block above it like that. Now make sure that you put 7 items into your hopper clock right there, and then if you unflick this lever, this thing should be going back and forth every now and again. And now for the potion dispensers, we're going to put in ourselves a solid block here and here, a glass block there, and then go down by a solid block. And we need a couple of slabs coming out here. So 3 slabs going into a solid block, and then a slab right here, and this is where you're going to have your dropper actually giving you the potions. So now come back to the side, we need to install the redstone. So redstone dust right there, repeater on 2 ticks, redstone going down, and then it's 4 repeaters all on 4 ticks each, just to get the timings right. That way you damage them at the proper time. We're going to put a slab on top of this right here, hopper going into the side of that dropper with a double chest above it for some potion storage. You'll probably want to expand that as well. And then we have a couple of glass blocks here just to box in the player. And we could also put in an optional lever right here to turn off your potion dropper while the farm is running if you want to test out your redstone or something. And now we're going to run our redstone up to our pistons. So go off of the back of this. We need a solid block up and then another one up, a couple of slabs going out, and then a slab up like this right here. So now we're going to go towards the back over here by additional 3 slabs, just like so, and then 5 slabs on the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Before we connect all the pistons together, we're going to put the redstone on the back of the pistons because it's actually the same for all of them. So we're just going to start on this one right here. You need a solid block behind the bottom one and a solid block behind the middle one, solid block here, and another one going down so that it's this general shape. And then we're actually going to have redstone on top of all of that. And then you just kind of stair step up the rest of it with some glass, just like so. And that is the same exact build process for all of your pistons. So let's do that one more time. Solid block behind the bottom one and the middle one. Stair step it down by 2 like this. And then you have redstone above everything. you got some glass blocks on the front to stair step, and then one more stair step up like that. So do that for the other two as well. And to make sure that you've done everything correctly, you can put a button at the bottom. If you power that, all 5 of your pistons should extend. And now for the redstone lines connecting up all of your pistons. This is all really easy. We're going to start at the bottom down here and just run some redstone line up on top of this. You can put in a button right here if you ever want to test the piston walls from below. You can ever just press that. Now we're going to have a redstone going up, redstone over, a 3-tick repeater, and then a 4-tick repeater. That's going to be going into a solid block with a redstone up, and that'll connect into that one. And then we're just going to run this redstone line to this other side, and then have a couple of slabs going across like so. We need in a solid block there, and then a repeater, and a piece of redstone dust to connect up those pistons. You can remove those 2 slabs if you want to. We're going to bring this slab line all the way across until we get to over here. And then we need a solid block down right here and a solid block right there. A repeater between those blocks on 2 ticks, and then just redstone out the back side of it until it gets over to here. Going back to this corner right here, we need another slab right here, and you can remove these 2 if you want to. Now we need another slab line going all the way out to this side, and then 2 more solid blocks right there. You can remove those slabs, a repeater between those blocks on 2 ticks, and then 1 final redstone line. And make sure that you get a piece of redstone right there to connect up this one, and you get a redstone right there to connect up this one. And now we need to actually test these things real quick to make sure you didn't miss any redstone. So I'm just going to put a button right there. It should fire this one first, second, third, and then that one should be last. So if we press that, as you can see, everything is working properly. So now we're going to put in some logs, and these have to be the pale oak logs. We're going to do a full line going across the front right here. That should be about 12 blocks right there. We're going to skip this corner right here and put in another 11 of these going across. Skip this corner, and then another 11 going across like that. Skip that corner, and then back to the beginning. And the only corner that should have a block in it is this one right here, and you don't need the glass underneath it because that's just in the corners to prevent guys from spawning over there. So now that we have that in place, I would recommend that you test it with a little button right here again, and you should see all those blocks get pushed around, and you should always have a solid block here in the corner once this is done, as you can see. Now it's time to install our creaking hearts, so go to the front of the build over here. We're going to install a line of temporary blocks down at the bottom, 11 blocks wide, and now you need to get more of your pale oak logs. Make sure these are all with the log texture on the top side, and then you want to do this next part during the daytime. That way you don't have any guys spawn, because we are not ready for them. So go ahead and place in yourself more logs on top of these. Now, if your logs aren't orientated correctly, then your heart will turn on. So make sure the logs are all vertical like this. Now we're going to do 2 lines of hearts on each side of this build for a total of 88 creaking. And of course, if you don't have this many hearts, you can just kind of skip those for right now and just install the log bars. So technically, you could start off with 1 heart, you could start off with 10, you could start off with how many you want, and you can actually expand the build to be even taller if you want to get even more resin and boost your rates. Now, if you don't have 1 player sleep, I would recommend that you skip installing the hearts until you're fully done with the farm, so keep that in mind. So keep in mind, we're always going to have a gap block between our hearts and the redstone of our pistons, and this is the same on all 4 sides. So we're going to install another 11 wide branch of like the logs and the creakings on this side, and then on the other 2 as well. And that's what all of our creaking walls should look like, as you can see there. And now we need to fill in the entire intersection with these pale oak logs as well. So everywhere that we've already installed 1 earlier, you just need to bring those up to the very top to a block above your hearts. So now that all of this is pretty filled in with a ton of trees, we need to spawn proof the top of this thing. So above your pistons and above all of your logs, you just need a layer of slabs. Now you'll notice that we have 3 little gaps in each of the corners, and this is where we're actually going to fill in a little bit of water to stop resin from spawning on this inside edge and being lost to the farm. So at the bottom of this, we're going to place in a few pieces of glass on all these sides, 1 more glass at the top, and then just put in yourself a water bucket that's going to flow down, and it should be contained by your pistons and all of your glass. Now, if you're in a cold biome like I was, you need to put in a button at the top of it to prevent it from freezing. So we need to do that on the other 2 corners as well. It's the same build process. So those 3 corners all have water on it, but the front right corner is just going to have a layer of glass blocks to stop resin from spawning in there. Now, you are going to have resin spawning on the outside of the farm on all of these pale logs right here. That's not actually going to affect the rates, but if you don't like the look of it, then you could put buttons on the sides of all of this stuff, or you could put extra blocks right there, or signs, or whatever you want to stop that resin from spawning. Before we put in the water funnel in the middle, if you're building in a cold biome where it snows and freezes, then you'll need to put in a solid block right here in the corner with a slab above it, above each one of those cornered blocks down below. That way your water doesn't freeze down there. So now jump down into the middle over here. We're going to put in ourselves a button directly above our drop chute right there to stop the water from flowing in. We need a button in each one of these corners like so, and then get in yourself a sign above each one of these buttons. You're going to have to crouch to place that, and those signs will stop the water from flowing down into our funnel. So now you just need a water source on each one of these corners right here. That's going to push all of your creakings into the very middle. And now you just need one more water source on that edge right there, and that'll push all the creakings down into your little cell. And now we're going to install the daylight detection circuit. This is optional, but I would highly recommend it. That way the farm isn't running during the day. So we're just going to go off of this comparator right here and run out with a line of slabs until you get to the very edge of the farm where there's no blocks above it. We're going to have a nighttime sensor right here, and then a comparator on subtract mode right there. We need a couple more blocks out. You need a furnace right here and a comparator reading from that furnace, a slab above the furnace, and then we're going to put 28 junk items in there. Make sure that you have 28. So now we need in a solid block here, slab above it, and a redstone torch on the back side of that. Now get in yourself 3 pieces of redstone dust. So this is going to turn off your hopper clock and make sure that your farm is not running, and make sure that you're not throwing potions while it is daytime. As soon as it becomes nighttime and these guys are able to spawn, then this clock is going to turn off and turn on the farm. And now we need to install item collection for this thing, of which you will need many. So we're going to place in a temporary block right here, and then 8 double chests going out from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then just make sure all these are doubled up. You're going to need a lot of hoppers behind these. So hoppers into the back side of each of those, hoppers into the tops of each of those, and then more hoppers going into the back sides of those. This is going to be double speed item collection and double speed putting it into your chests. Now, if you want to expand this going downwards, because this will get filled up very quickly, what you need to do is 2 hoppers going into a double chest below each of them, but that's more of like long-term storage. Ideally, you're going to want to auto-craft a lot of this or smelt it basically immediately and then auto-craft it. So either way, we're going to put in ourselves a line of glass above all these hoppers right here, 1 piece of glass on the back, and then just another railing of glass going to the front right here. Now you can go ahead and break out that block right there, place in yourself a water source. That should go all the way to the end except for the last block. And now you just want to cover up all of this with some slabs. That way no guys spawn in there. And that is your farm completely done. If you've been waiting to install your creaking hearts, now is the time. There is nowhere for them to spawn besides the inside of the build, unless you have, you know, built out of the wrong material somewhere. That's why you got to build out of glass. If you don't build out of glass, they're gonna spawn everywhere down here. It's gonna be a bad time. Thanks again to Nimbon for the design concept, and if you enjoyed this tutorial, then drop a like, share it around, and subscribe. I have a lot more tutorials on the way, and thank you for watching.